Hello and welcome back to Britpop history and to a new series where we will be reviewing every Britpop album released based on rankings decided by followers of Britpop history on Twitter. For the uninitiated, Britpop was a cultural movement that emerged in the early 1990s in the United Kingdom, characterised by catchy melodies, guitar-driven music and lyrics that often celebrated British life and culture. It was a response to the grunge and alternative rock sounds that had dominated the global music scene at the time, and it quickly became a phenomenon with bands such as Oasis, Blur, Pulp and Suede leading the charge. Now, over 30 years since some of those key Britpop releases, the genre continues to inspire nostalgia and admiration among music fans. With so many iconic albums released during that era, it's difficult to choose just one favourite. That's why I decided to take on the challenge of ranking every Britpop album ever released, from the classics to the obscure, to help you relive the magic of this beloved genre. So grab your parka, put on your shades, and join us on this journey through Britpop history. Now, just to give you some background, I posted Twitter polls for all the albums that I consider to be Britpop. I asked for a rating, A, B, C or D, because Twitter only allows for 4. I then converted those into star ratings of 5, 4, 3 and 2. Now, what bands or albums are classed as Britpop is a contentious point, and there's no agreed definition of what is or isn't Britpop. In fact, most of the bands actively avoided the label, although a lot of them did perform on the show Britpop Now, which popularised the term. I'm looking at you, Damon. But in this case, I've gone with my gut instinct. Having lived through it as a teenager, I generally have gone with either what I felt was Britpop at the time or what I've come to think of as Britpop in the years since. So, for example, all the entries here are British, except for 2 Swedish exceptions, the Wannadies and the Cardigans, who are generally considered Britpop adjacent or honorary Britpop. I haven't included bands that I feel are too rock, such as Terrorvision, Feeder and Smash, and I haven't included acts that were too poppy or dance, like Shampoo and Republica. Radiohead are not here, as they, to me, felt separate from the Britpop scene, particularly having had such success in America. They almost felt more like an American band, similar to Bush, who were British but never really made it over here. It's primarily bands, but Paul Weller is in, as his mid-90s output felt very much in the vein of the other Britpop bands, but for example Morrissey is not in. Some early 90s bands that predated Britpop like the Charlatans, Blur and Lightning Seeds do make the list, whereas In Spiral Carpets and The Farm do not. This Is My Truth, Tell Me Yours. Oh, and by the way, that is in, as is Everything Must Go, but not the Holy Bible or Gold Against the Soul. So there we are. If you feel there's any that should be included that aren't, then do feel free to let me know, but it won't change anything. One final point, there's no way of telling from the people that voted how many of them had actually listened to the albums in question. Therefore, many of the lesser known albums are the lowest scoring, and I suspect that's because people simply don't know them or assumed because they're lesser known that they're not any good. Well, that's really unfortunate because many of the lower rated albums are actually really good. And hopefully by doing this series, we'll be able to shine a light on some of them. So without any further Freddie ado, make a cup of tea, put a record on, and let's crack on. In 121st and last place is No Coincidence by Jocasta. Well, something had to be last, and Jocasta has that unfortunate honour. No Coincidence is an album that may not have reached the heights of its Britpop contemporaries, but it certainly has its own unique charm. Released in 1997, the album was the band's only full-length release before disbanding, and unfortunately it didn't receive the commercial success it deserved, and the band were even dropped by the record label on the day of its release. Despite coming in last in this ranking, No Coincidence is a solid effort that showcases the songwriting talents of singer and key creative force Tim Arnold and the excellent musicianship of the band. The album kicks off with laughing, swooping strings and clanging guitars providing backing for political lyrics comparing the Ministry of Defence to Mickey Mouse. Go comes next, and along with Change Me, these are the best known songs on the album, being released and then re-released as singles, and scoring plenty of airplay on Radio 1 at the time. It's on tracks like these and others like Something to Say and Crack Baby where I feel Jocasta really shine, with crunchy guitars and catchy hooks reminiscent of fellow Britpop luminaries like Manson and Menswear. They also have a quieter, more introspective side with Life in a Daze storytelling that wouldn't feel out of place on a pulp album, and picked acoustic guitar